This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hi, I'm Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about real life, love, the power of positivity, romance, and of course, laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose, and we celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. On the show, my guests are amazing people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today does just that. Today, David Richman and I discuss how today is really the day that it could be day zero, a fresh learning experience, if we let it be. So if you want to see yourself in an honest way, forgive, and learn to let go, you can have a fresh learning experience every day. This is the show for you. David is an author, public speaker, endurance athlete whose mission is to form more meaningful human connections through storytelling. Today, we're going to tell some great stories. His first book, Winning in the Middle of the Pack, discuss how to get more out of ourselves than we ever imagined. With Cycles of Lives, David shares stories of people overcoming trauma and delves deeply into their emotional journeys with cancer. He continues to do Ironman triathlons and recently completed a solo 4,700-mile bike ride. David, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, I think that's what drew me to you was in your intro. You talk about learning how to forgive so you can move forward. What a big deal that is.
Yeah, it's really important to do that. You know, I just had a friend die the other day. I've got a few friends that have cancer currently, and my mission in life is to inspire people to know two things. One, they deserve a happily ever after. And two, to live every single day like they want to be alive. And then not just coast through life, because life is so precious and it can go just like that. So yeah. I'm excited to have you here today. And yeah.
Now let's talk. I mean, that's tough, right? Who listening does not know somebody who's going through something very, very, very difficult, something we can't even comprehend, understand. And I mean, honestly, we might even want to avoid because we don't want to deal with it. And that's a universal theme. There's nobody alive that doesn't know that people have gone through or are going through something difficult. The hard thing is, how do we do more than just say, hey, let me drop off a casserole or let me watch your kids while you go to a doctor's appointment? The harder thing is like having the hard conversation about how do you feel? What's going through your head? What do you need from people? You know, are you frightened? Talk to me. You know, these kind of things, which is really, those are hard conversations to have.
It is hard. And the other thing that's really hard is to even find out if people have something going on in their life. You know, what I try to do, like you and I are friends and I go, hey, David, how are you doing? And so we'll just kind of have a conversation. So answer the phone, just say hello, blah, blah.
Yeah. Hey, Rob.
Yeah. David, dude, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm all right. I'm hanging in there, man. I'm doing all right.
Got it. How are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
When you ask people 2 times that, they put their guard down because it's just reaction where people will just like, look, I don't want to let anybody know that anything's going on in my life. And I want to let them know, but I don't know how to let them know. So when you give them that opening, they put their guard down and they're like, wow, they genuinely really want to know what's going on with me. And that's a window of opportunity. So I invite you to do that. That's a great way. You can see how your defenses go down the second time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the hard thing is when you're having these conversations, like I know you're really caring about asking me how I'm doing, but if I really tell you how I'm doing, maybe I'm afraid it might bring you down. Or maybe
Right.
I'm afraid that I'm doing so well, but I know you're going through a tough time. So I don't want to feel guilty. So I'm just not going to brag about something that I feel really good about. And so we filter ourselves a lot of the time because we don't want to burden the other person, or we're embarrassed, or we feel guilty, or whatever. And so that's why it's really hard to have these meaningful conversations.
Yeah. And I think social media has really had an impact on that. I think people see all the great stuff going on in people's lives, and they don't often see the struggles that people are going through. And there's a lot of people that are struggling right now that really could use a friendly voice. And I think it's important to check in on people that are in your life to see if they're doing okay. And usually it's the ones that are showing that their life is the greatest are the ones that are having the biggest challenges.
Yeah, there's one of the guys that I spoke to, when I wrote this last book, I spent a couple of years talking to a bunch of different people so I could get super deep into their stories. And one of the person that I spoke to, kind of his story was always that. It was always like, hey, I don't need your help. I'm doing fine. Like everything's good. Like, hey, I'm a young macho Puerto Rican. I don't need help. Like I'm good. Right. Like I got it. I'm in control. It's all good. Meanwhile, what was going on, just slightly peeking behind the curtain just a tiny bit. And you realize that, oh my God, this guy was exactly the opposite of everything was okay. And he was desperately figuring out a way to allow somebody in or reach out and find a safe space that somebody would care and not abandon him in his time of need. But he was so afraid to do that it was just like this, I'm macho, I got it, whatever. So you just don't know if like you just said, sometimes the people that seem the most together and seem like they're handling whatever issue the way that could be handled, it might be the furthest thing. They just might be really good actors.
Yeah. So my daughter, when she was 14 years old, suffered 4 strokes and was in a coma, had brain surgery. And what I found the most fascinating was our closest, dearest friends vanished.
Yeah.
It is really troubled me to this day. And I know with her mom as well, and that they vanished. And, a lot of people don't know how to act around that because it puts their mortality right in the forefront of their minds. And they don't want to face that, especially when it's a child.
They also don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to sound like an idiot. They don't want to, they don't want to bring you further down possibly than you already are. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people abandon people in their times of need. I mean, I can totally understand, not knowing what I know now, like having learned so much through the process of these people's lives. I would have easily said, oh my gosh, I need to give Rob space because no way he wants to talk to me while he's dealing with something like that. And by the way, what the hell could I say that would make him feel better anyway? And it's better just not to say anything. So they're not abandoning you because they don't care. They're abandoning you because they don't want to do something wrong. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to be a burden. They don't want to be ashamed. They don't want to feel guilty. It's understandable. And so I went about bringing stories around that would say to people, hey, knowing what Rob might be going through, knowing what your daughter's mom might be going through, what's a tool I can use? What's a way that I could connect with them in an authentic, safe way that would allow me to have a hard conversation that might benefit either one of us?
Yeah, it's a difficult conversation to have. First of all, I just think it's amazing that who you are as a person. And I know a few people that do Ironman triathlons, and it's truly remarkable. If you've never been and seen the power of the human spirit at an Ironman, you have to go. You have to fight the crowd and go. When you see people cross that finish line and they're just giving it everything they have, their body has said no more and their mind is like, no, I'm going to do this. Or the opposite, the brain has said no and they still keep going. The finish line is the most incredible thing. You see people of all calibers of life, people that you never see or imagine would be in an Ironman, and they're crossing the finish line. And it is just, I got tears in my eyes. It was so overwhelming to me to show how powerful humans are and what they can put themselves through. One of the things that I think is really powerful about the Ironman, I don't think it's an athletic event. I believe people are like, what do you mean it's not an athletic event? It's one of the most personal development courses you could ever take.
Totally
Remarkable.
agree with you. I didn't know that going into it. I have done nearly 20 Ironmans, but I didn't know that going.
I love you're so nonchalant about that. I've done like 20 Ironmans.
But
that's
it
pretty
is
impressive.
It is that, and I didn't know. Again, I didn't know going in it, but with a little space and some time, I know that part of the reason why that's true is because oftentimes in life, we're given really difficult things that we need to figure out a way to overcome. But usually we don't choose to engage in those things. And when you choose to do an Ironman, because nobody's asking you to do it, nobody's forcing you to do it, nobody even really cares if you do it or not. But when you choose to do something that hard, I mean, the training, the nutrition, the mechanical things, the pain, the amount of time you give up for other things that you could be doing.
The financial resources, it's expensive to do it.
It's expensive. And when you're doing that because you want to see what you're made of. You want to see what you can overcome. You want to see how you can overcome a problem. But the beautiful thing about it is this is a self-imposed problem. This is like hey, I'm going to create the issue and I'm going to see whether or not I can deal with it. That's kind of self-testing is way better. If I told you, Rob, if I said, dude, figure out a way to go run 50 miles tomorrow, you'd be like, what the hell? There's no way. But if you woke up and said, oh my God, I got to figure out a way to run 50 miles tomorrow, you'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's really beautiful. And out of the nearly 20 I've done, there have been very few where I haven't had like this rush of emotion, tears streaming out, like just this sense of accomplishment and relief and like this, oh my God, I did something super difficult. It was just for me kind of feeling right before you get to the finish line. And then, that goes away. But it's like this, like you said, a self-test that is life lessons to the fullest. And the beauty about it is you're self-imposing it. How great is that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty remarkable. Speaking of remarkable, anybody that has going through cancer and has survived cancer is, in addition, pretty remarkable. And, you have some incredible stories about that. What's one that just comes to your mind of one of the biggest transformations, whether it's a spiritual transformation from they get diagnosed or what have you, but what's one of the one that just really stands out?
Oh man, they all really stand out, Rob, because there's so many deep lessons to be learned in the way people deal with, or sometimes don't deal with, the emotional side of the trauma. There's so much lesson to be learned. And what we're often doing when we're going through difficult things, like I don't want to assume, but Rob, I'm going to guess that when you're going through that difficult time you just touched on with your daughter, that there were other things at work. Your childhood, issues that how you dealt with traumas, the fear you might have about certain things. It wasn't just the issue. There's so much that comes to it. And the trauma forces you or gives you an opportunity to maybe solve some of these other problems. And when people are faced with cancer, caregiver, doctor, patient, loved one, survivor, whomever, they're oftentimes given an opportunity to deal with the greater traumas that are there. And so when you are forced to deal with those traumas, that's where the true transformation can come from. And so each one of the stories is totally, totally beautiful. But I think, I think the one that really sticks out with me is a story of Dave. And Dave is going through something you can't even imagine right now. His wife just got put into hospice a couple of days ago. And I'm sure he doesn't mind me talking about this. He's a very public guy. But this is a guy who was a championship bodybuilder, very macho, very traditional male. Like I'm the man, I'm the stud, I'm the whatever. And he gets testicular cancer, and he just is like, whatever, I'll deal with it. No big deal. I got bigger things to do. I'm a man. I'll go out there and find more women and accomplish more at my work and whatever. Then a couple years later, testicular cancer, different type, comes back. And he has to go through that hormone therapy, the whole thing, but he's not going to let it permeate him. He's the man. He's got great things he's going to accomplish in life. This is like no big deal. It doesn't even enter his brain, right, that he's got cancer. He's just like, whatever. It's a problem. I'm a man. I'll solve my freaking problems. Like, leave me alone. And then all of a sudden it hits him. One day he's at the dentist's office, and the dentist says to him right before x-rays, oh, hey, by the way, you haven't been exposed to any radiation lately, have you? And it just hit him. Radiation. Yeah. I mean, just all of a sudden the thing came crashing down on him, where he said, holy shit, I've had cancer. Like, I had cancer twice. Like, they had to do some really bad, hard things to me. I will never be able to have kids. I can't. And he's going through the whole thing comes crashing down on him, and it just floors him, brings him to his knees, and wrecks him emotionally in a split second of realization. And then that led to that deep realization that he had issues that he so pushed away that they didn't even exist. That sometimes when we do that, they all come crashing down, right? They all come crashing down. And they crashed down one moment, and he had to learn step by step how to process what he had been through, how to be present in the moment, how to be grateful for the life that he had, how to live more meaningful and more purposeful. And he 180 transition. He became the most open, sensitive, emotionally stable, even though sometimes he's unstable, because sometimes it's difficult what you go through. He went from this very aloof, masculine, like out there guy to this strong, super emotional, tied into the world, interacting with people in a meaningful way, just this strong presence, but on a 180. And I saw him go through some of this transition, and it's the most beautiful thing ever, because he's given back to the world in a way that I don't know that many people can. And it's only because he allowed himself to realize what he had been through, and to not push it away, but to learn how to embrace it and use it as his strength. And boy, that's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah. When you embrace what's going on in your life as opposed to fight it, it can make things a whole lot easier. A lot of people are going through a lot of stuff right now, and it's kind of like swimming upstream, salmon swimming upstream. I mean, this is what you're going through. And this is, my mom always says, when you're going through hell, keep going. Don't stop. Like she always says, don't stop, keep going. And you just got to go through it. If you're walking through a burning building, you got to just go through the burning building and get to the outside. And it takes a lot. And that goes back to where you were doing your Ironman, in that the human spirit is so incredible. It's so incredible. I think of Hal Elrod, I'm the narrator for the Miracle Morning audiobooks, and Hal Elrod, he suffered one of the rarest forms of adult leukemia, and he went through it. If you have a chance, watch the Miracle Morning movie, and you'll see what he went through. He was doing 7-minute exercises every day, and he was eating super healthy, and he overcame it. He's alive. He's farming out somewhere in Texas right now. And it's amazing, the human spirit. Like, he just kept going. And it's hard. And, when you live your life like you want to be alive, you will get through it. I mean, when you have something going on in your life, especially cancer, it's a fork in the road. You can decide to live, or you can decide to die. And it's really easy to decide to die.
Right. Or you can live your life because of the cancer, or you can live your life in spite of the cancer.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, sometimes we need to get through the difficult thing and let it go. And sometimes we need to get through the difficult thing and embrace it. And, I had a jacked up childhood. I'm sure a lot of us did. And And I lived a lot of my life like not letting go of it. And eventually I needed to let go, because you got to move past the trauma at some point, right? Or you got to embrace it and swallow it up and absorb it in a different way. And I feel like what we sometimes do when we come up with difficulty is we figure out a way to not actually embrace it, to not get through it, not to, like you said, get through hell. You just got to keep going. Yeah, you got to keep going, but you got to be aware of where you're going and what steps you're taking. And like, Absolutely. You got to go, okay, I'm in hell. I got to figure it out, man. I got to keep going. I got to get myself out of here. If you just put blinders on and get through it, at some point it's going to come crashing down. And I think that's the beauty of a lot of these stories is what you just said, is that fork in the road, the having to deal with trauma, whether that trauma was the suicide of a parent or abandonment or drug abuse or whatever, the loss of a child, of a parent, didn't matter. When you were forced to or took the opportunity to process that trauma in a safe, meaningful, authentic, real, connective way, that's where transformation happened. And you have to figure out a way to do that if you're going to live, a meaningful life, and especially how to connect with people. You have to, you got to find them that space, or you got to find a space for them for that.
Well, the one thing that I discovered when I had my blood clot and I was laying in bed trying to not die, was what's important in life. It becomes very easy to see what's important in life. And what's important in life is relationship and people in your life. Stuff is not important in your life. And you'll discover that really quickly when you have a situation where you're facing a near-death experience. It changes your perspective on everything. All the morass of bullshit in your life is like, yeah, that's not important. It's not important. That actually, that morass of crap is probably what, got you where your body broke down. And so it's important for your mental health to really keep focused on what's important in your life. And that's breathing and gratitude and appreciation and putting good food in your body and surrounding yourself by people that make a difference in a positive way in your life.
Yeah, I mean, that's super well said. I love, your attitude of, today is day one and today is the best day and move forward from here. Yeah, I mean, I love that, because what that forces you to do is to know yourself, like look in the mirror and really know yourself, right? Yeah. Because if you can, like you've said so eloquently, like forgive yourself, if you can free your mind, if you can just let it go, you're here now. Just let it all go, and then lean forward and lean into whatever is going to happen, right? Like I love that visual that your mom gave you of being in hell. Like just keep going. Yeah. Recognize where you're at. Let it go. You're here. Just figure out a way to keep going. Lean into it. Like go forward. Like figure it out. I love that visual.
Yeah. It's important. I talk about this often. When you're depressed, you're living in the past. You're rehashing everything that's gone on in your life, all the traumas and tribulations that you've had. And when you have anxiety, you're freaking out about the future of stuff that hasn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to do everything you can to live in the very present moment and just be here now. We cannot change the past. I had a challenging childhood. I've had crazy stuff happen in my life, and I can't change it. And I'm glad that I take the time out to breathe and that I stay focused on this is right now and to not get into the future of what could happen. It's hard, but it's important to stay grounded, and meditation can do it, and gratitude and just being as present as you possibly can will really alleviate a lot of stress in your life.
That's what, Rob, that's what endurance athletics has done for me and continues to do for me, is give me that space to contemplate, to meditate, to realize that I'm here in the moment. Cause when you're running 5 hours in the desert, when you're doing a 5,000 mile bike ride, when you're getting up every day and putting yourself through crazy stuff, you have to be present. You have to be now. You have to be aware of everything that's going on around you. And it gives you this depth of of forcing yourself to look at yourself in the situation that you're in, which we oftentimes don't do. Who hasn't gotten to Friday and go, how the hell is it Friday already? Like what? Like the weekend was like,
I'm just saying that right now. I'm like, how is it Thursday? It was just Monday.
Yeah. You would. Right. That's because we oftentimes are not as present as we could be, because life is hard. It's hard to be present. It's hard. And it's easy to focus. I use this analogy, and I'm sure it's not my own, but I like it. I think I came up with it, so I'll claim it, although it's probably stolen from someone else. But I look at this life as this 10,000 piece puzzle. And I go, that's a big, complicated box, and it really sucks. But all right, I'm going to try to put the thing together. And when I put it together 20 years ago, I realized that there were 10 pieces that were missing from the box. And I kept focusing on those 10 pieces. I was angry about it, the childhood and the bad decisions and the tough times in life and the holes I found myself in and the ups and the downs. And I'm like, why are those freaking 10 pieces missing? Like, what the hell? I spent all this time putting the 10,000 pieces together, and there's holes in my puzzle. Like, I can't go back to the manufacturer and say, give them to me. And then eventually I realized, you know what? Sometimes there's pieces missing. Just deal with it. You put like 9,900 and some odd pieces together. You got most of it figured out. You got a pretty dang clear picture. Like, let it go. I love that analogy, because I'm focusing on the 10,000 pieces, not the missing 10.
Wow. What's your most favorite moment in being a triathlete? Like, what is it? And what's the most favorite moment, and what did it feel like? Like, just take me back there. There's got to be some moment, whether high or low. What is that?
There's one moment that has probably driven me more in my personal life, professional life, athletic life, relationships, or whatever, than any other moment. And it was from a race I did. It wasn't a triathlon, but it was get a load of this one. Ready? It was an 87-mile rollerblade race. So strap on some rollerblades and go 87 miles up and around the gentle rolling hills of Georgia, which are anything but gentle. And I had no business doing this, Rob. I was not in shape to do it. I didn't know how to really rollerblade. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Okay. And I said, but you know what, man, you're tough. You'll figure it out. It's something you want to do. Go do it. And I'm about 35 miles in, and it was like 90 degrees, Atlanta hot. And I'm going up this hill, and I stop. I'm done. I know everything. Like, my legs are toast. I'm sweating like a pig. I got no energy. I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do. Right. So I lean over on my knees, and I'm just like, and I'm creating this line of sweat on the asphalt. And I'm ready to quit. And I had this inner dialogue with myself, and I go, okay, you got two options. You can quit, and you're going to know everything about yourself, everything about what you're made of. You're going to know what your limits are. And that's a good thing. Like, it's a good thing to know what your limits are, and to know what you're made of, and to know you gave it your best, and you're fine. And then you go home and you know everything about yourself, which is great. Or, dude, just figure out a way to take one more step. Like go. Take just one step past that line of sweat. And the reason that I wanted to do that was because I would learn. Because that's a place I'd never been before. That was a place I never think I could go before. I never knew I had it in me to go one more step past that point, right? Whatever that point is. And then I said, okay, take another and another. And eventually 6 hours later, I made it 50 odd miles to the finish line. And every step was a learning experience, because I was in a territory I'd never been in before. And so when I think about, life, and I think about when I do a 100-mile run, or I think about I got a tough project, or I got to deliver bad news, or I got to receive bad news, or whatever is not like this super uncomfortable space, I go, if you need to quit. It's okay. You already know everything about yourself. It's all good. But if you can figure out a way to just go one more step, like just go a little bit further, you're going to learn something. Not accomplish more, not be tougher, not just learn. You're going to learn something new about yourself and what you're capable of, or how you handle things. That is a point that I probably thought about that thing and applied it to my life 1,000,000 times in the last 20 years, probably 1,000,000 times. That to me is a seminal point. I have 4 or 5 of those points, but you asked me to give you one. That was one.
Wow. That's a mic drop moment. I have a title for your next new book, and your next new book is going to be Just Go One More Step.
One more step. I love that.
That's your title.
I'm sending you royalties. I'm going to send you.
There
royalties.
you go. I know that's great.
Well, you got to voice over the intro though.
There you go. I can do that. I got 34 audiobooks. So man, David, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. You're really just a wonderful guest and truly inspiring. And it makes me feel like you're like, I'm going to go out for a 100-mile run. Yeah, no, that's not me. I'll cheer you. I'll hold your purse and cheer you on from the side. How's that?
There you go. Done.
All right.
Done.
All right. Thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, Rob. Keep it going and good luck with your friend.
Thank you so much for your support and taking the time out of your busy and precious day to listen to Life Transformation Radio. I so appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along with my very special guests, to touch your heart, move your soul, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.